2.5 hour drive all the way up there. And you gotta really be working at to catch a stupid little fish about that big, take a picture of it, throw it back so you can drive 2.5 hours back. It's the craziest thing I ever seen. Crazy thing. But that's what we do.
Sounds kind of fun.
It's really kind of fun. It's called the Cutthroat Slam.
That's what a fun thing.
Because you're looking at the defendant.
Hey, Morgan? Morgan? I think I seen President Taggart just walk in. Who? I think I did. Taggart. Out of, yeah, right here. He's out of the ATC. Yeah, he's gonna do a presentation, so I'm gonna move him up. So. Just put his glasses on, white shirt, blue tie. Just tell him we'll move him up in the schedule.
No. Yeah, they're like really close to the front. Put your These are a little older, not like those little Boys and Girls Club kids that kept kicking the chair and squeaking it. And Jeannie Hall just hung there and then they squeaked it again.
Ready? Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody out. Appreciate you all being here. This is the Roy City Council meeting for June 15th, 2021. We start our meeting at 5:30. And luckily, over the last couple, we've been able to do that live. So we're pretty excited. Got away from the Zoom meetings, so we're pretty excited like that. I'd like to welcome Councilmember Saxton, Councilmember Burrell, Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Jackson, and Councilmember Paul. They're with us tonight. I'd like to lead off, if you don't mind, and ask if you join me in a moment of silence. So if you'll do that, we're just going to have a moment of silence, then we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you join me in that moment of silence, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Will you go ahead and please rise as we do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Council, we do have actually three consent items. I just want to go through those real quickly. First one is the approval of the May 18th, 2021. I think the agenda shows May 1st, but the actual minutes show them to be May 18th. Both the city council meeting minutes as well as the work session minutes. And if you remember, the work session minutes were actually conducted in the library a few weeks ago. So we have those, and we also have the sale of a surplus vehicle in the water department. Council, any comments, questions? Anything you want to share, ask before we ask for a vote? Okay, then do I have a motion to approve the consent items with the changes? And by the way, we did submit changes to Morgan so she can make those adjustments in the minutes, okay?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
And who was second? Ann, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. President Taggart, we're going to put you right up on spot, get you in and get out. We have a big agenda tonight, so if you'd like, we'd like you to join us. If you've got something you'd like to tie into our computers, we'll make any accommodation. We appreciate you joining us tonight. President Taggart does have a presentation that he'd like to share with us tonight, so I'll just turn the time over to you.
You know, I'm the president of a technical college, and I'm having some technical difficulties. There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
She's going to put a feed, she's going to press, yeah, you go. So we're tying you into the screens.
Thank you so much. Mayor Dandoy and council members, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and address you today. I know that you get a lot of your citizens that come and they have a lot of questions and concerns, and a lot of times they have an ask for you. I'm here to thank you and to give you something, not to ask for anything today, which is always nice. I do want to, on a side note, share with you that another responsibility I have in our community is I'm the chair of the Legislative Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. Mayor Dandoy sits on that committee. And I have to tell you, there is no one who advocates more for their community than Mayor Dandoy. He's done a phenomenal job this past 2 years educating all of Weber County, in fact, all of northern Utah, on the transportation demands in Roy. And because of that, we've seen great movement that has benefited not only Roy, but all of northern Utah. So thank you, Mayor. You're good. I'm just going to keep going because I know you have a long agenda. We'll catch up. Ogden-Weber Tech College is celebrating 50 years in the community. We are Roy City's technical college. While it doesn't say Roy Technical College, it might as well. My middle name is Royal, by the way, so we're covered there. The technical college started in 1971 in an elementary school in central Ogden with 96 students. From there, it moved to the Exchange building in the old Ogden Stockyards. If there was a building that was just shy of being demolished in Weber County, that's where the Tech College moved next. From there, we went to the old Weber High School on the corner of 12th and Washington Boulevard. Finally, in 1984, a great legislator said, "I have found a permanent home for you." It's 100 acres. It used to be a youth correctional facility. Don't look at the buildings, look at the land. We are now on a piece of property that is the oldest continually owned piece of property by the state of Utah in Weber County. It's been owned by the state since it was a territory. And so while it's changed hands many times and we've changed location and we've changed our name 6 separate times. Many of you knew us as the ATC, the Applied Technology Center, and now we're a technical college. While our name and location has changed multiple times, our commitment to our community has not changed. We now have the state-of-the-art campus, not only our main campus in Ogden, we have this great satellite campus in the heart of Business Depot, Ogden. We now serve, starting with 96 students, we now serve almost 6,000 students a year. And that's a great boon to our economy. All of our programs are high-demand, high-tech programs. We don't offer a program unless there are jobs in Weber County for the individuals to be employed in. Our programs center on manufacturing, health, IT and software, business, construction, and service. We are the largest provider of apprenticeship training in the state of Utah. 1 in 4 of our students is an apprentice. That means they're earning high wages while they're going to school. All of our high school students attend tuition free. That's one of the benefits of the 8 state technical colleges. So high school students can attend college and not pay a penny of tuition and complete a post-secondary certificate. And we have many, many high school students. I have a great picture of a student from Roy High who completed her certificate before they started. All of our adult students graduate tuition free. That means they have more money to spend in our community. We like that. No one should graduate from college with debt. All of our graduates, as I mentioned, work in high-tech, high-demand jobs in Weber County. When I work with the county and city economic development, with the state economic development, and we have a company that wants to expand in Weber County or wants to relocate to Weber County, their number one question is not water or infrastructure. They'll ask about that, but their number one question is, can you give me the workforce? And they pull me aside and they say, we can bring engineers from wherever we're coming from. I know everyone's worried about engineers. Northrop Grumman's worried about engineers. Northrop Grumman also pulls me aside and says, we need 2,500 technicians today. For every engineer, there are 7 technicians that are needed, and we provide that workforce. Each year, our graduates in their first year of employment generate $80 million in earnings in our community. That's not bad for a tech college. $80 million, and they're going to continue to earn that, and their wages will continue to grow each and every year. So I want to thank you. Oh, one other thing, all of our students have an opportunity to continue their education with one of our stackable credentials at Weber State, Utah State, Ensign College, or Salt Lake Community College, which is a great benefit. For a student to complete a tech college certificate, tuition-free, no debt, they've completed the first year of an associate degree at one of our great universities. So one of the things that we wanted to give as a gift to our community partners, to Roy City for being a great sponsor and supporter of Ogden Beaver Tech for the past 50 years, is we want to give you a scholarship that you can then give to a member of your community. It could be a member of your community that's already attending the tech college, or it could be someone in your community that would benefit from attending the tech college. So I have a folder that I'm going to leave with Morgan, and it has all the information in there, and you can follow whatever process you would like to grant this scholarship to a member of the fine city of Roy. Thank you. Any questions you have for me?
No, I just want to echo President Taggart. What a wonderful opportunity it is for our students to attend the technical college. I have attended their graduations, and we have a lot of young parents in our audience tonight. And it is an incredible opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burrell.
I'd like to say thank you as well. I didn't know much. I attended DATC when I was younger, but my daughter went to OWATC. She, I believe, was one of the first ones to graduate with a dental assisting certificate before she graduated high school.
She may have been the very first one.
And it's a great program. It excelled her in her career and got her ready for other things. So I speak first-handedly when I say it's a great institution, and thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Councilmember Paul.
Yeah, great comment. Any other comments, council? Thank you.
It's a great resource. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. President, thank you for your time. And as soon as we get that folder, Morgan, if you can make some copies, we'd like to get that to the council and Matt, and just kind of work out a strategy of how we want to make this scholarship work. And we're excited about that. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. We'd like to go into the public comment period. In our agenda, you've seen that in there. And let me just make it, public comment period is a time when you can talk about anything you'd like to talk about. Bring up any subject you'd like to discuss to the council. But in reference to other issues that are going to be taking place in this agenda, and we got a lot of things we're going to be covering today, it's also the time if you have something you want to make comment on in terms of things that are going to be talked about today, that's the time in the public comment period to bring those issues up. So if you would like to come up, please step up to the mic. Just give us your name and your address, and tell us what you're thinking. Okay, seeing none, then we'll go ahead and move out of our public comment period. Okay, we do have some action items, specifically Resolution 2114, amending the Roy City Personnel Policy and Procedural Manual. I believe Camille is going to talk to that. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, it's great to be with you tonight. The first item I am here to propose is an amendment to the Roy City Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual. We've talked about a change through some of our budget discussions to add a firefighter 2/senior paramedic position. That is included in the budget that you'll consider tonight, but we also need to reflect that change in our personnel policy and procedure manual. So this change to section 1402, eligibility for reclassification and automatic promotion, includes the requirements that to meet this reclassification, as we've discussed in the budget work sessions. So we recommend that you approve Resolution 21-14, amending the Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual to add those new requirements in so we can consider them for funding with the budget.
Perfect, thank you. Council, comments, questions?
I think that'll be a great addition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And as we appreciate, the fact is we're going to approve a budget in a few minutes, hopefully. We need to make sure this personnel policy is approved before we press on with that as well. So thank you. Hearing none in terms of questions on this subject, then do Do I have a motion then to approve Resolution 21-14, amending the Roy City Personnel Policy and Procedural Manual?
So moved.
Okay, that was Jan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Diane, thank you. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Perfect. Thank you, thank you. Okay, we have Resolution 21-15 honoring the 5th and 6th grade lacrosse team. And Travis, you're going to help us with this one. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm honored to be here tonight, Mayor, members of council. Why don't we have the members of the 5th and 6th grade Roy lacrosse team come up here, as well as the coaches. Come on up, fellas. Don't be shy.
Good job.
We have something we'd like to read, Resolution 21-15, a resolution of Roy City Council honoring the 5th and 6th grade Roy lacrosse team for their 2021 Intermountain Lacrosse League State Championship. Whereas the Roy lacrosse team is comprised of 5th and 6th grade players from Roy City and competes in the Intermountain Lacrosse League, and whereas the team went undefeated with a 10-0 record in the 2021 season, and whereas in 10 games the team scored an impressive 113 goals, and whereas on Wednesday, May 26th, 2021, the Roy lacrosse team won the Intermountain Lacrosse League Championship by a score of 9-4. And whereas the team's success is a result of the commitment and direction of the coaching staff, the skill, dedication, and teamwork exhibited by the players, and support from parents and family members, and whereas the team consisted of, and I'm sorry if I screw up anyone's name, Kaysen Aguilar, Jacob Boyson, Boone Call, Tayden Call, Raiden Klippinger, Tyler Dixon, Declan Draheim, Asher Golan, Cooper Horspool, Madison Ketchum, Landon Liston, Ryder McClintock, Lincoln Miller, Corbin Neff, Corver Pontius, Paxton Price, Dominic Reyes, Archie Reynolds, Carden Sheeb, Henry Schultz, Rylan Weiss, Xander Weiberg, and Colson Wright, with a coaching staff consisting of James Dixon, Anthony Liston, Nate Schultz. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Roy City Council congratulates the players and coaches of the 5th and 6th grade players of the Roy lacrosse team for their tremendous championship lacrosse season and for the honor and acclaim brought to themselves, their team, and Roy City. Dated this date, June 21st. Congratulations, all of you. That's quite an honor.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Resolution 21-15 honoring the 5th and 6th grade lacrosse team. They've represented this city well. I've watched some of these youth in different activities and sports, and great group of young men and coaches. So, good job.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Me and Jan will both second it.
Okay, and I'll let you
Yeah,
second
that's fine.
that. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Perfect, thank you. And with that, if you don't mind, can we shake some hands here? Because this is a big day.
Parents, if you'd like to come up
Congratulations.
a little closer and get a picture, be our guest.
Why don't we just step down?
Thank you.
Let's just step down and,
weekend. Tyler, bring the line in front. You bring the line in front. Come in front of these boys. Hurry, hurry,
Hey, Travis, can you do us a favor?
Yes,
I'll
sir.
let them take the pictures, and then I want to have you do me a favor, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Do it.
Go right here, go right here. Right here, boys.
1 second, Mayor.
Okay, well done. Once Morgan gets the signatures done on this, would you provide copies to the coaches? And then if the coaches would like to have a copy of this resolution, we'd love to have that spread to all the team members. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
Morgan can get that to you. So anyway, congratulations,
great idea.
team. Incredible effort, incredible effort. Thank you. Okay, Travis, I think you're up again.
I am.
Either use it or drink it, one or the other.
That was so nice, we're gonna do it twice.
Awesome.
Can I now have the members of the 7th and 8th grade Roy Lacrosse team come up here? We got a pipeline. We're building the pipeline.
With any luck, they'll be future leaders of Roy too. Keep it going.
Roy boys are Roy boys.
Mayor and members of council, I am honored to be here tonight to speak on Resolution 21-16, a resolution of the Roy City Council honoring the 7th and 8th grade Roy Lacrosse team for their 2021 Intermountain Lacrosse League State Championship. Whereas the Roy Lacrosse team is comprised of 7th and 8th grade players from Roy City and competes in the Intermountain Lacrosse League, and whereas the team went undefeated with a 10-0 record in the 2021 season, and whereas in 10 games the team scored an impressive 129 goals, and whereas on Wednesday, May 26th, 2021, the Roy Lacrosse team won the Intermountain Lacrosse League Championship by a score of 10-9. And whereas the team's success is the result of commitment and direction of the coaching staff and skill, dedication, and teamwork exhibited by the players and support from parents and family members, and whereas the team consisted of Wesley Barker, Carson Begley, Mason Boyer, Bo Brown, Grady Call, Cash Coulahan, Canyon Duggar, Hayden Hansen, Zachary Hine, Tayden Jager, Tanner Ketchum, Ryder McClintock, Henry Mullen, Carson Pontius, Brecken Seawright, Dane Stringham, Isaiah Van Wagner, Deegan Watson, Gage Wright, Kelton Wright, and a coaching staff consisting of Brian Barker, Zach Coulahan, Kyle Hine, and Casey Stringham. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Roy City Council congratulates the players and coaches of the 7th and 8th grade players of the Roy Lacrosse team for their tremendous championship lacrosse season and for the honor and acclaim brought to themselves, their team, and Royce City. Dated this day, June 2021. Congratulations.
Accept the resolution.
Let's shake some hands and let's get some pictures. Appreciate all you guys did for us. Thank you.
We're going to pass the resolution, and then we'd like to shake your hands if that's okay.
Oh,
So do I have a motion then to approve Resolution 21-16, honoring the 7th and 8th grade
So moved.
lacrosse team?
And I'll second it.
I heard a Jan and I heard a Diane. Okay, Morgan, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you.
I just want these young people to recognize that every time they step on the field, they represent a whole community. Not just yourself, not just your team, but a whole community, because everybody knows who the Royals are. So thank you.
Yeah, well said.
That's awesome.
He's going in just a few hours a day. Yeah, I was in there today and Brenda said he'd come in. She said he was on crutches yesterday, but came in today without crutches. But on lots of medication still. So.
Should be.
Thank you. That was, those are incredible achievements. Thank you. Team members, you're surely all welcome to join us tonight. We have a few things on the agenda, but we recognize if you need to go, you surely can do that too. But thank you. Great achievement.
Like, yeah, we're out of here. The Jeremy Wright. You remember Jeremy Wright? Did you live in that? When the Wrights, Curtis Wright and Jeremy Wright, they lived in your subdivision. That's in the very end in the blue shirt. That's Jeremy. He looks just like his mother.
Yeah, he does. Carolina.
Okay.
I don't recognize that place. It's on there.
Now we have consideration of approving the adjustments to the fiscal year 2021 budget. With that, we're going to go ahead and open up a public hearing. So let's do this. Would you like to kind of do the introductions, and I'll take a motion to open the public hearing and then allow people to talk if they'd like.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Camille, if you'd like to lead us off.
Great. Mayor and Council, we are here tonight to present Resolution 21-12 for your consideration to amend the fiscal year 2021 budget based on the information that you received in your packets. This proposed resolution will increase the previously approved fiscal year 21 budget by $5,418,070. This proposed increase is various line items based on the actual amounts received year to date and projections of amounts that we'll receive to finish out the fiscal year. Overall, the general fund budget is increased by $2,650,850. As we've discussed in previous meetings, there are still a lot of unknowns for fiscal year 2021. And although the end of the fiscal year is June 30th, we will continue to receive revenue related to fiscal year 2021 into August. We also have expenses that we're waiting to receive invoices on, so we won't have final expenditures at this point either. Using historical trends and forecasting projected revenues, we can estimate where we'll end up at year end, but there are still a lot of unknowns, and we won't have the opportunity to come back and present to you any more budget amendments for fiscal year 2021, as you can only make them until the actual end of the fiscal year. So based on the timing of the fiscal year and the actual time it takes to close out the year, we have included a transfer to the Capital Projects Fund of up to $2.5 million. The actual amount won't be transferred until later this fall once we have closed out the year, and we will report that back to council with the audit and our annual financial report. But approving it now gives us the authority to transfer funds over to the Capital Projects Fund to be allocated for future projects. The Capital Projects Fund will then increase by the same $2.5 million. $10,000 will be used related to cover the police department bathroom remodel, and the rest of it will go back into fund balance to be brought to you at a future date. The Class C road funds are proposed to be increased by $100,000 due to the sale of a fixed asset and one-time revenue reimbursed. We propose that we contribute this all to fund balance to be used at a future date. Revenues in the Transportation Infrastructure Fund are projected to increase by approximately $100,000 over the previously approved budget estimates. These funds are also proposed to just flow back into the fund balance reserves to be used for a future date. The Storm Sewer Development Fund has collected about $25,000 in fees over the initial budget projections, and that the same way those funds are proposed to just flow back into fund balance reserves, and we'll bring those forward in a future budget opening. The Park Development Fund has collected about $22,000 in fees over the initial budget projections. And the Cemetery Fund collected $220 from the sale of lots in fiscal year 21. So again, we'll propose to just put that in fund balance. So with that, we recommend that you receive public input and consider the resolution 21-12 to amend the fiscal year 2021 budget.
Nice job. Thank you, Camille. Okay, council, I'd like to go into a public hearing. Do I have a motion to go into a public hearing?
So moved.
Diane, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jen, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're now into a public hearing. If you'd like to make public comment relative to the adjustments to the fiscal year 2021 budget, please step up to the mic, give us your name and your address. Anybody like to share? Okay, seeing none, no public comment. Council, then, I'd like to make a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Dan, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Brian,
Brian.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we're out of public hearing. Council, any comments, questions, anything you'd like to discuss with Camille relative to this budget adjustment?
I want to thank our finance department for being so incredibly mindful of this dynamic document. I know it changes on a daily basis, and they keep us so well informed, and it just seems like it flows very nicely, figuratively and literally. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate the leadership and the effort that's went into this, knowing that we are in a dynamic year with the pandemic and a lot of unknowns. I feel that the efforts that have went in this year have been greater than the past, and I appreciate the work that's went into it.
I second that. You do a great job.
And your wisdom and foresight and,
Yes.
and just
Thank
your
you.
integrity in going into that is greatly appreciated.
Okay. Looks like, Matt, Camille, your team's doing some great things, and the council is surely appreciative of all the hard work that you're doing to maintain that. And Royce City is in a really good place financially, and that's a great place to be. So thank you for all your service and efforts in doing that. So with that, council, Do I then have a motion to approve Resolution 20-12, approving the adjustments to the fiscal year 2021 budget?
So moved.
Okay, that was Ann. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, now we have another, Camille, I think you're back.
I will be back a few more times.
I think you will be. We do now have a resolution opening. Actually, we're going to talk about Resolution 20-13, which is the Roy City Council approving the enterprise fund transfer. So if you'd like to go introduce that to us, thank you, Camille.
Great, Mayor and Council, it's great to be with you again to talk more about the finances of the city. As the mayor mentioned, we are here tonight regarding the Enterprise Fund Transfers Resolution number 21-13. For your consideration, this would approve the fiscal year 2022, so next year's Enterprise Fund transfers. If you remember from last year, this public hearing was a new state requirement in 2017. The purpose of this public hearing is to present an accounting of how the money of the enterprise funds are being used to cover administrative overhead costs attributable to the operations of the enterprise funds and receive public comment on these proposed transfers. Roy City's General Fund, Information Technology Fund, and Risk Management Fund currently provide administrative, clerical, maintenance, and other support to the city's enterprise funds. These personnel include the city manager, city recorder, city attorney, legal and risk management staff, public works director and staff, management services director, accounting, payroll, HR, utility billing staff, IT professionals, and equipment operators. These positions are split between the general fund and the utility enterprise funds. The money transferred from the utility enterprise funds are proportional to the amount of time these positions spend working on the utility enterprise funds. Roy City does not transfer any costs not associated with the operation of the enterprise funds. So please bear with me, but we want to make on public record what the amount of the transfers are. We are transferring $1,031,210 from the Water and Sewer Utility Fund to cover administrative support from the General Fund, IT Fund, and Risk Management Fund. $141,840 from the Stormwater Fund to cover administrative support from the General Fund, IT Fund, and Risk Management Fund. $5,795 from the Stormwater Utility Fund to cover clerical and labor support from the Water and Sewer Utility Fund. $259,467 from the Solid Waste Utility Fund to cover administrative support from the General Fund, IT Fund, and Risk Management Fund. $16,392 from the Solid Waste Utility Fund to cover clerical and labor support from the Water and Sewer Utility Fund, and $2,566 from the Solid Waste Utility Fund to cover labor provided by the Stormwater Utility Fund for the summer cleanup. So with that, we recommend that you receive public input on these enterprise fund transfers and consider the proposed resolution 21-13 to transfer monies from the Water and Sewer, Stormwater, and Solid Waste Utility enterprise funds.
Thank you, Camille. Okay, with that then, do I have a motion to go into public hearing to discuss the enterprise funds transfer?
I move to go into public hearing
Okay.
for that.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ann, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in public hearing. If you would like to make comments relative to this, the consideration of transferring enterprise funds, please step up to the mic. Just give us your name and your address. Okay, seeing
Is that
none,
resolution 2013 or 2113?
it's 2013.
2013. 21, so it's on
Is
our,
it 2113?
it's on our agenda incorrect.
Yeah, it's 2113, but mine now, the minutes are they're 2113. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually on the resolution, but it's actually in my notes as 2013. Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody wants to make public comment, then to have a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Jan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Diane. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are out of public hearing. Any council any comments, questions you would like to make? Okay. Okay, with that then, do I have a motion then to approve Resolution 21-13 of the Roy City Council approving the the enterprise fund transfer?
So moved.
Jan, thank you for that.
Second it.
Ann, thank you for the second. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
It's approved. Thank you. Okay, with that then, we do have the, you're going to be
I'm
busy
just glad
tonight.
you're smiling.
Obviously, we've got to do consideration of ordinance 21-6, which is adopting the fiscal year 2022 budget. So with that, lead us out, Camille.
Great. So Mayor and Council, as you know, this is a very important meeting to approve the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So now that you've approved the enterprise fund transfers and we've cleaned up the end of year for this year, it's now time for us to move forward and look to fiscal year 2022. So we presented the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget to you on May 4th. The total general fund budget is $20,068,166. We held a budget work session on June 1st, and we've had discussions regarding the budget and what is proposed to be funded. We've discussed the salary survey for Public Works and Parks and Recreation, as included in the pay scale attached to the budget. This budget also approves funding for the new job for the firefighter 2/senior paramedic promotion that you approved in the personnel policy. We've answered all the questions we've received from the mayor and council, and we haven't received any public feedback that has gone unanswered. No changes to the budget are included in this final budget adoption resolution. Ordinance 21-6 adopts the fiscal year 21-22 budget for Roy City and adopts our certified tax rate of .001733 as provided by the Weber County Auditor. There was a misprint in one of the tables in the budget book for the storm sewer fee increases. The proposed fee is an increase from $9 to $9.23, or a 2.5% increase. So we want to make sure you publicly know what that amount would be, and we will correct that in the final budget document we post on the website. With that, we recommend that you receive public input and consider approving ordinance 21-6, adopting the fiscal year 2022 budget.
Perfect. Thank you, Camille. Okay, with that, council, do I have a motion then to go into public hearing to consider ordinance 21-6, adopting the fiscal year 2022 budget?
So moved.
Jan, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Diane, thank you for that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any disapprove? Okay. Approved. Thank you. Okay, we're in public hearing. Anybody like to make comments relative to the upcoming 2022 budget? Oh, perfect. You can just give us your name and address. Thank you.
Randy Scadden, 4433 South, 1800 West. I thought all the youth were here for the budget meeting, so I was really excited that we had youth involvement with these types of activities. So sad to see they left. But my question is, as it relates to one of the key initiatives is like community outreach. I know there was a survey that was sent out for a lot of the development that's going in along 1900 and things of that nature. I heard, and I think you sent me an email earlier today, Mayor, that we took and sent out 6,000 mailers. I don't recall seeing said mailer. And so from a budgetary perspective, do we have other means that we're taking and looking into? And this is a follow-on to, and again, I sent the request actually over to Matt as well. The question being is there in the budget better means in terms of communication, in terms of leveraging more modern ways of taking surveys, specifically email, specifically other forms of communication that are not email or that are not physical mail related? Because again, all I know is when I see my mailbox, it's just junk. It is junk. And so there's a lot of times that, I mean, I was having this exact conversation with my wife yesterday. We'll even on occasion inadvertently throw the Roy Connection magazine away. At least she will, because she thinks it's one of those other, magazines that comes in the mail. So again, I ask, because again, the beauty of going with a more modern approach is that it's trackable. We can actually see who actually opens, and we can actually better fully understand the reach in terms of who we're actually hitting. So I guess from a budgeting perspective, do we have money in the budget for those types of more modern approaches to community outreach?
Good question. Anybody want to take a shot at that one?
I will tell you, Mr. Scadden, that I specifically asked if we had an ongoing idea that we were going to do more surveys, and that was done. Some of that was done by email through Y2 Analytics.
Okay.
And I think we do plan to move forward with future surveys.
Fair enough.
Dealing with different topics, not necessarily with the downtown.
100%. And that's the thing is I'm saying when
But
you
it-
look, when you look at the cost of like a physical mailer versus sending an email,
I specifically asked that prior to this budget meeting, so
Well-
I know that is planned.
We talked about that in the outreach of doing email. I brought it up in the work session, talked about doing outreach on doing email surveys and stuff like that. Even if we were going to hire Y2 Analytics to do another survey, even if it's not in the budget as a line item, the council has contingency money that they could appropriate for doing a survey or things that we feel like is needed to get us input and feedback as we vote on initiatives and stuff like that. So
for sure. I mean,
I'll
just
let Matt or Camille answer fully, but I believe we can always pull stuff out of council contingency because we hold that certain amount of money for projects like that.
for sure.
With some of the, with the initial contract that we entered in with Y2 Analytics, some of that startup cost was due to the mailers because they needed to reach out in multiple ways. Now that they've reached out and got their sample, then they're going to do it electronically.
Gotcha.
And so the individuals that actually got it went online and did the survey so they could quantitate it there.
Sure.
And not necessarily by paper. But I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was maybe a 50% savings on the subsequent surveys that we do with them. To go a little bit further in detail, we do have email addresses for citizens. There's a big difference between having a statistical survey by a company and having a complete random sample versus just blasting it out to everybody, because then it's not statistically accurate.
Sure.
And that's why we do hire them. But the next survey that we would offer to the citizens, it would be more electronic.
Fair enough. And I mean, one last point, and then I'll be done, is when you take into consideration the gentleman that just purchased the Utah Jazz basically bought it with money that was generated by a company from Qualtrics, which all they do is send out email surveys. They are a glorified survey company. So the technology is there and people actually gravitate towards it. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Okay. Randy, thank you for your input. Okay, any other public comments? Okay.
Make
Do I have a
we
motion
go
then?
out of public hearing.
Go out of public hearing? Okay, I got a motion from Joe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jan, thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now out of public hearing. Council, any comments, questions before we go for consideration of approving the ordinance? How do you feel about the budget?
I think there's been a lot of work and effort that's gone into it. I reiterate what I said before. I appreciate the efforts. I take comfort in knowing that we've got good people. You know, we've got a city manager that used to be in that role. So there's definitely multiple aspects of people that are working it. Camille's done a great job. I appreciate it. And on that, if there's no other comment, I'd make a motion we approve.
Well, let me ask a question, and Matt, help me because you and I talked about this. Council, I think one of the most key elements to this thing, which is really important to us as a council, but definitely to staff, and more importantly, I think, to the citizens, is that you're about to make a decision, and if you approve it, it's going to have a big impact on our employees. And I'm talking about bringing them into perspective in a competitive mode in terms of other municipalities, in terms of what they provide in terms of salaries. And Matt and I had a good conversation. And Matt, just kind of give us your thoughts in terms of the significance of what we're about to decide on and how that's going to play an important role in helping us retain our skilled workforce.
Yeah, I'd love to, Mayor. Back a while ago, we made a commitment to the employees that we were going to implement a STEP program, and that STEP program came along with the tax increase. And that was basically to distinguish employees from one another, from a one-year employee from a two-year employee. Now, there was no COLA ever discussed in this, that we never did the cost of living, and that's what makes us competitive with other agencies. No COLA has been given to a city employee since 2016, so this will be the 6th year that we have not had a COLA. Now, we've had an 89% turnover ratio in the streets department, and that's because when we look at on average of what we're paying versus others, we're really, really low. Just for instance, when we did the survey, we're looking at doing we're at about the 50% mark, and we showed the agency that we relate ourselves to, and that's just Davis, Weaver County. So we're not getting into the Salt Lake Valley or anything. We want to hit 50%. 50% of people are going to be above us, 50% of people are going to be below us. Now, with that being said, other agencies really close to us say we're going to be 50% plus 10%. Now, that's good. They have a little bit more money to play with. Other agencies say 50% minus 10%. Now we're losing employees to that agency, and that's not good. To have an 89% turnover ratio in the Public Works Department, we're hiring people, we're training people, they're getting their water certifications, which Troy City is paying for, and they're going elsewhere. We're hiring people in the Streets Department, they get a CDL, and then we're combating against waste management, or we're combating against over-the-road truckers. And so with this being said, we haven't done this COLA to make us competitive against these other agencies. So that goes not only for Public Works and Parks and Rec, that goes for the police department, that goes for the general administration of the city, and that goes for the fire department as well. So it's important that when we make this commitment, we continue with this commitment. We said that we were going to do this 6 years ago. Now, due to funding and things like that, we weren't able to successfully do it. We put the priorities over in the merit system, which is highly important to keep that merit schedule up to date so employees distinguish themselves between years of service. But we need to make a commitment going forward that next year it's going to be the police department. Next year it's going to be the general administration. That we need to do what we can do to make it so we're competitive against these outside agencies.
Yeah, great comments. Okay, council, any other comments? Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, just, so help me. It sounds like our greatest shield is from a tax increase and giving the employees what they deserve is sales tax revenue.
Sales tax revenue is one of the primary sources of income within the general fund.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it will be, I mean, I won't be here, but it will be on the onus of the council to continue to grow that sales tax revenue base.
Correct.
So that it keeps with, you know, this
Inflation
benefit.
and-
Yeah. And so it seems like we're on that pace. Wasn't our growth like 8% or help me, wasn't it?
So the growth of sales tax has fluctuated over the past couple of years, but you're correct. It's been steadily inclining of a growth, but that's only for sales tax.
Right.
So when you have other revenues that could potentially decline or other revenues that stay stagnant, it was funding some of our merit systems and it was funding other projects within the city, but it wasn't funding everything that was for the COLAs and things.
Oh, okay. All right. So we got to grow that.
Most definitely, it would be nice.
We have to grow revenue.
We have to grow
I mean,
revenue.
that's a major, and that would take a lot of pressure off of both the department heads and the people sitting on this diem. It seems. God, it almost makes me wish I was here.
You're so
Anyway,
funny.
all right.
Okay. Other comments,
I just-
questions, council? Okay,
I think it's just key that this has always been looked at as a dynamic document, and that our finance department continues to update us and say, we need to move this because of these particular issues that come up. And we've done that almost on a, I don't know, Camille, you could tell us, probably almost on a monthly basis. We get to see her bright smiling face almost monthly
yeah.
because of that. And not only is this a dynamic year, but I assume that the next year will be dynamic as well. So thank you again for keeping us moving in the right direction.
Yeah, great comment.
Mayor, I'd like make a motion that we accept ordinance, or adopt ordinance 21-6, adopting the budget for Roy City for the fiscal year from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, and providing that this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its adoption and deposits with the city recorder.
Okay, thank you. Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, we have a second. This is a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Thank you. Probably the most important decision that a city council can do is approve a city budget. And you have just done that. And I can't help to think, department heads, my recommendation would be is let your team members know that this city council is concerned, want to do what their part to make sure that our team members are well taken care of and that we're looking out for their best interests. So please make sure they understand that. I'm sure some may be watching, but the key will be is your conversation with our team members. So please carry that message. Okay, with that, we do now have an ordinance 21-7, which talks about amending the general plan. So if you would then, oh, you finally got it up and running. Thank you. So go ahead and let's talk about this ordinance proposal.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'd prefer have Camille do this because she has a bright smiling face and seems to be able to get through things without much dilemma. No.
Sorry, Steve.
This is to consider ordinance, sorry, I did 21-6, but
It's
she
21-7.
kicked me off and made it 7 and 8, and I didn't change them, sorry.
Okay.
But it's to change the future land use map of the general plan from medium-density, single-family residential to very high-density, multifamily residential for property at 5445 South, 4300 West, and then consider, sorry, again, 21-8, your staff reports are correct, to amend the zoning map from RE20 to RE3 at the same property. So just to give you an idea, this is where the property is located. It's on the west end of the city. In fact, the west side of this property is in Hooper. So once you go beyond that, you're in Hooper. To the south of it, it's zoned commercial. Holiday Oil is coming in on most of the property down below it on the corner. But you do have Howard Slough that's running through this property, and nothing to the south is developing along that aspect. But this property is about 3.83 acres in size. It does have one single-family home on it. The future land use map be on your left and the zoning map on your right. Like as mentioned, the future land use map shows this area to be medium-density, single-family, and the zoning right now is RE20. RE20 is actually low-density, single-family, so zoning doesn't reflect right now even what the general plan wants it to be, but this is a request to change both of them anyway. Just so you know, the request isn't out of the ordinary. The little parcel in yellow is the one parcel we're talking about, and the two parcels down below across the street from Emma Russell, which are in Hooper, actually has the same density that's being requested by this property. It's about, Hooper City allows 12 units per acre, or about 3751 square feet per unit, and Roy City's R3 or R4 zone allows 12 units per acre, or 3750 square feet per unit. So we're very comparable. So it's not that this request would be so different in the neighborhood. In fact, during the planning commission meeting, most didn't even know these were there. Ryan Cowley drops off his son at one of the friends and noticed, hey, there's some fourplexes right here, and these two properties reflect the same density that is being requested. So it's, again, it's not out of the ordinary.
Is that the property just directly north of the proposed area? That's kind of a triangle area? I was,
In yellow?
the yellow, and if you go directly north of that, does that include that zoning there as well?
North of the yellow is in Hooper.
Mm-hmm. But is that the 12 units per acre there as well? I was thinking that's what
The
you
unfortunate
had
part is I
written.
don't have the Hooper map with me. I mean, I could go out of this presentation and look, but I just know the Hooper's ordinance or zoning down here
Is it
allows for the multifamily, even though it's all in an R1 zone.
I think it was on this paper. I just wanted to clarify that I'd read that properly. So, thank you.
Yes. So the question the council needs to reflect on, and these are the same questions that the planning commission, is does changing or not changing the zone provide the best options for development of this property? How can this property be best developed? As large lot, single family, or as multifamily residential? And then which is best for Royce City? The planning commission, as you know, held a public hearing on May 11th, and their recommendations are there. The general plan amendment was to recommend approval. For the rezone request, they did have one little condition that they put in there. It doesn't, you can, keep this condition or do something different, but they just, because of the residents that were around there that came in, they made a condition, anything west of the slough, so I'll go back to the property, anything west of the slough be developed as single-family, and anything east of the slough as multifamily. Now, the great thing about the R3 zone is you can have single-family lots in the R3. The subdivision next to West Park in between the tracks, that's an R3 zone with single-family homes. All the R is, it's 6,000 square foot lots rather than 8 or 10. But then you could keep the same zone for the whole property, they just develop it a little differently. But that's kind of what the planning commission looked for. Staff would still recommend it just be zoned R3 and let the developer figure it out. The issues that you'll have to look at as well is the R3 does have landscaping requirements, open space requirements. So the slough becomes probably more of an amenity. Hooper to the north of them has a walking trail from 43 and then dead ends right to this property. The trail could continue. I know Roy City's looked to have the walking trail going north from around the slough off of 4300 West to the little pond up there and beyond. So it could be a nice amenity to take into account. So if you develop west of the slough as a single family, you may lose that ability. So if you allow the developer to kind of develop it all as one, then they have some ability. If you have technical questions on what the developer would like to do, they are here, but the staff would recommend that the request as explained be approved.
Okay, thank you,
Steve, can I
Steve.
ask a question on it, just
Yes.
really quickly? So as we were looking always at our affordable housing, can this fit within that affordable housing?
Well,
plan?
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure
would that-
how big the units are gonna be, how many. I mean, right now, if they just develop the whole thing, as
But the
most-
fact that we changed the zoning, can that
Helps.
reported as
It
as
does help.
as addressing that affordable
It
housing?
will help, because if it develops all as multifamily, And the SLU wasn't there, they could get 45 units.
But whether it does or doesn't, we have at least addressed it.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the RE20 with 20,000, half-acre lots, it's not very affordable.
So they want apartments or townhomes or condos?
Well,
or-
the R3 zone allows for condos, townhomes, or apartments. They'll probably do more townhomes, because that's kind of what the developer does around. but
So
that
townhomes closer to the road and then single-family homes closer to Hooper?
Depends on what you guys approve.
Oh,
It could
So-
be townhomes, the whole thing, or
Is it my understanding you don't know for sure what the triangle is to the north of there?
zoning-wise.
Yes.
Hooper City owns it.
I get it.
It's
But
our
what
fo-
I'm looking at the fact of we're creating an island in single-family residential. I know we're commercial here. I'd really like to know what Hooper is there to, are we creating something that fits? Are we creating something that stands out? Because I have my personal opinions about the two red squares that you showed to the south of that property.
Well, in your staff report on the adjacent zoning, Hooper's is R4 high density. Now, Hooper's definition of high density R4 is 10,000 square foot lots, which is our medium to low density.
Right.
Right.
So their definition of what, high density is a lot different than ours.
What, question,
Yes,
what, you said that, okay, we held a hearing, the planning commission did. What was their feeling toward going with, and maybe the developers could answer this, what was the overall sense of dividing the property, having single-family below the slough and
multifamily east.
yeah.
Most of the residents said, please develop it similar to similar. And so that's kind of where the planning commission said, well, if we put single-family homes next to single-family homes west of the slough, that should appease the individuals that came. And then east of the slough, do multifamily. So it's a little higher density. It's away from those single families. It's on a busy street right next to commercial.
So would that access come off the cul-de-sac?
100.
Or would it come off 5500?
They would do 43, and I believe they do have access to the cul-de-sac. I think
Makes
it bumps
sense.
right up against their property.
Yeah.
You've got single here.
That would be the smart move, to come right off that Hooper Road.
So then the access would come into a typical single-family dwelling area?
It could. I mean, they could have a road go across the slough once they get through Army Corps of Engineers to connect everything. So they're not always going through the subdivision out. They could go through somewhere else, but, I mean, you kind of want multiple directions coming in. So
Yeah.
if they have one road going in and then heading north as well, but that would be, they get to design it and then
Would be
get it
Holiday.
approved when the planning commission looks at their site plan.
Yep.
I just
Okay.
have a question too about, I mean, maybe it doesn't matter to us, but as far as the slough is concerned, did they have to have so far of a setback? Do they have to
Well,
work with the?
anytime you're within 30 feet of the slough, the Army Corps of Engineers gets involved.
Okay.
So if they start, building close to that, then, they'll have to be involved regardless. Both myself and our engineer will ask for letters or look to the Army Corps for comments. If they go to put a road over it to, pipe it, Army Corps is involved. So anything they do to address it, they will have the Army Corps or the State Engineer's Office involved.
And with that comment, just for clarification, the slough actually comes out of our pond that's in Roy, and actually comes down all the way through there. And if you we're not able to see with this image, but if you look at all those homes that are actually surrounded by that particular slough that's in Roy, already existing, more than likely probably had to go through the core if they got within that 30 feet range. And yet they are there, and they seem to be pretty happy with it. What we gained out of it would be is we got a sizable pond that a lot of people enjoy fishing in there and doing a little recreation in there. So it's kind of like a nice amenity you were talking about earlier. Interesting to see what Hooper and maybe what Roy might do with this property in terms of continuing that idea. But just recognize we're not setting a precedence here. That has already been said and set already with that particular slough in terms of Roy when it come out of the pond and going into the pond. So, other questions, council?
Yes, maybe to clarify. So my understanding when I spoke with you is it's about 3.84 acres, I believe, 3.83 acres. And you mentioned 45 units total, but if you take and put single-family units to the west, and then you have the multifamily units to the east, would that change the number of possible units?
Yes,
And what would that be then?
unknown, because I don't know how big the property is east of the slough versus what's on the west. So, I mean, you might be able to get
Yeah, you could almost put
4 or
third
5
and
single-family
two-thirds.
homes,
Bigger than the
depending on how big they are, depending on how big the road is, what that takes up. You know, you won't get more than 45 if they develop the whole thing, but you're gonna get a lot less if they do single-family to the west and only multifamily to the east.
Because even if you just kind of guesstimate it, you're probably a little over an acre on the west. You know, it looks like it's about a third and
Yeah.
2 acres, so you could
looks like a
consider,
third.
I guess if you were gonna rough it up, you could
If
you
to
could
the
possibly
east was
consider that.
2/3, then you're, talking 24.
Or 2/3 of- yeah.
Plus a little bit.
Or 30 units.
Yeah, so, yeah, maybe 30 on the one side, and then, and then you have, 'cause 6, so, yeah,
Good question.
okay.
Okay, other thoughts, Brian?
Yeah,
See, this is why I wanted Camille.
if you put townhomes on the entire property, okay, and you said you'd get about, I think you said about 45 to 40,
45 is what it comes out to be.
okay. Are the people that are living just north of that piece of property gonna want that high-density development in their backyard?
Well, in the staff report during the public hearing, you've got all their comments, and most of them were against multifamily for every reason under the sun. My second favorite comment that's come out of a public hearing was during this one. But when they started looking at, okay, we understand, they're gonna do zoning and this, that, and the other, but if you did single family next to us, that appeases them a lot more. But I don't think single family through the whole project is
Is
appropriate.
feasible, okay.
So I think the planning commission kind of resolved some of the issues by saying west of it, do single family, east of it, do multifamily. You're kind of appeasing both parties.
How sure are we that it would be townhomes versus apartments? And do we have any idea if we would do something that would be rented versus something that would be by owner? Because
Once it's
I can let-
rezoned, we
I
can't.
can let
we
Andy
can't
kinda talk.
determine that.
Somebody
We can
buys
only
it,
allow
they
what
can-
our ordinance allows.
right,
So if
but
our
I'm just
ordinance
saying, do we
says-
have any idea?
Well, I think that, like I mentioned, the developer likes townhomes, and I think that's probably where he's leaning to. But with our ordinance allowing condos, townhomes, or apartments, it's really hard to say this is only gonna be that. And as for renters versus home occupants, we always wish they could be home occupant, but again, that's not a question we can really ask them, because I could buy the home and then rent it out, and it's still
That's
owned, but it's not, But I think that they're selling the properties.
But-
No?
Yeah, pull him up here, good thinking, Steve.
Just give us your name and address, thank you.
Jason Adam, and my address is 448 South, 2360 West in Marietta, Slaterville. The idea would be to have it under one HOA or one ownership group, which would be us, and not sell them. But like he says, sometimes individuals come and try to buy these. We don't normally do that. We normally sell them to other groups that like to bolster their portfolio. For us, it would be 100% would not be apartment buildings. We're not into that game. Or townhomes. That's what we do. But I can't guarantee that we wouldn't peel some of these off to sell individual ones, especially if I sold it down the road. I couldn't tell him what he has to do with it. But the idea for us right now is townhomes, maybe some single family if we need to. The other idea that we threw out there was townhomes on the or on the east, and like an open space park, whatever we want to do, whatever's good for Royce City as an amenity on the west side.
I like that.
I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a million options out there, but the first domino that's got to fall is obviously this one. We just dealt with the Army Corps. I know that process. It's tough. So putting a road across there versus a walking bridge is night and day different. So I'm not saying that we're sold on that idea, but if that helps, I mean, we're open. We're not going to say has to be this way. If there's a better amenity for Royce City, great. Let us know.
Question. What range of, because we talk all the time about affordable housing, but my daughter just paid $435,000 for a townhome in Daybreak. And so to me, that would not be affordable. So do you have any idea what the price range on?
I don't. If we build them, this is a process, but if we could somehow get the shovel in the ground this year, then probably they'd be a little expensive because wood and shingles and drywall, it's all expensive right now.
Right.
This is probably more of a don't break ground till next year type of project. And who knows what the costs are going to be. But right now, if we do it right now, we're looking at the 350 range. Maybe down to 300. Our build cost with our builder is $120 a square foot. I mean, that's just what we pay to get it built. So we got to go above and beyond that. But again,
right.
We're not selling them. I'm not too worried about selling them. This is more of a lease, and all those units would probably in Royce City would probably lease for somewhere between $1,400 and $1,700, depending on if it's military or not. There's a lot of military action, so it's going to be more of a lease thing than a purchase thing.
Will they be like 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or
Both,
single?
yes.
Or
No, probably the smallest would be a 2-bedroom. Probably no bigger than a 3-bedroom.
will they have garages?
Yes. Yep.
And you'll maintain the property and the landscaping and?
That's the beauty for the city. It's a single owner, so we have to. It's just follow your ordinances and stuff. Everything's maintained. I mean, the system that we have in place, we hire a company. It's Graystar Management. I'm sure they manage properties in your city. They do it all. They literally swab a dog. So if your dog poops in the ground, they swab it. They know exactly whose dog it was. They take care of it. It's a third party that does that because I don't want to be swabbing dogs.
So if we were to separate the two parts, would you still maintain it as one property if we were to separate it as a single family and then multi?
Yeah,
You would still maintain it as one HOA?
Yeah,
per
it would
se.
be more of that community's property to deal with. Other residents and historically usually encroach on that anyways. If it's something we need to gift to the city, we've done that a few times. Even where I'm from in Marriott-Sladeville, we've gifted a lot of ground to the city, let them expand parks. Whatever, we're not cutthroat as far as like, I got to maximize every single dollar. That's not really the angle here. The angle is obviously a financial angle, but it's also what fits. I think a nice park or something there, single family, I didn't hate that idea. It's obviously better for our bottom dollar, but I think the feel, and we can make it work. To me, that's more of a site plan approval process, and we can work together with whoever that is. We're not married to any concept right now. We have a concept drawing we can hand to you. It's just townhomes with some green space, but we're not married to any concept yet.
Okay. Great comments. Good questions.
If we do go the single family on the west side of the slough, it does mirror what we currently have there. So.
And that would make those residents that'll be next to that property happy, right?
Yeah, so our personal opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, with the gas station going in, they're not going to like it anyways, because right now it's a field and there are Kevin's horses back there, right? So it goes from gas station to residential, and there's noise and stuff that happens with that. We put buildings up and we completely block that off for them. So we're actually creating a barrier from a single-family residence to a commercial property. Usually adds value. If we leave it open, those houses will drop in value because of the gas station going in. It's just what happens. If we block that off, we'll slow that rate down for sure. They don't understand that, and I get that because I'm the same as they are. I like a lot of open space. But they won't understand that until it's in. But that is the concept. Like having a townhome project, which is not a big townhome project, it's probably going to end up being 30-ish units, with the east side or the west side being something different. That will create a barrier for those single-family residents in there for sure.
Just so everybody understands, what's on the west side and the east corner of that, or the north corner of that property are Hooper residents. Doesn't mean they don't matter.
Right.
But they're Hooper residents. What's across the street
Is Roy
on
residents.
4300 is Roy. So
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
what's backing up to it is Hooper. What's looking down at them is Roy.
Right.
That's correct. And for the record, I think 100% of those notes that you guys probably have from all the comments are Hooper residents.
They are.
Again, they do matter, but they're not your residents.
Right. Okay, great comments, great questions. Okay, any other questions, council?
Just one clarification, maybe you can just speak out, sorry about that. So if you are thinking of doing more open space and it is zoned single-family on the west and multifamily on the east, you can still do that. That's not going to change your ability if you want a larger open space. It just changes the number of units you could put, right?
Yeah, on the R3 zone, there's an equation of so much green space we have to do anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we did the entire west side, it would far exceed your expectations. It's far exceed
absolutely.
your code. If we do put single family, we still have to, because it's still the same zoning, we still have to put a green space in there, which we want to utilize the slough. I don't know the concept yet, but I do want to make that nice down there. Our engineers are pretty creative. I'm not, but they can draw some things up. And again, we're more than open to your guys' ideas of what to do there, because ultimately it's your city. And if it's a nice area, the next time we come stand up here, then you guys know that we can do another nice area. So
Thank you.
Okay, good comments. Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay, I'm looking for a motion here then on ordinance 21-7 to amend the general plan future land use map from medium-density, single-family to very high-density, multifamily residential at approximately 5445 south, 4300 west. Do I have a motion then to approve?
Is that with the conditions?
Then if you want to make a motion with the conditions, then we need to have the conditions to be stated in that agreement. Comment?
Don't put the conditions in the general plan portion, put it in the rezone portion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So with that clarity, there'll be the next part, but we got to get past this one to get to the next one if you approve it. So then I have a motion then to approve ordinance 21-7 as just stated.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
And a motion to approve, and I heard Brian say second. And I'm looking for a roll call vote. Morgan?
Councilmember Burrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Paul?
Nay.
Councilmember Saxton?
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. We now can, with that announcement, we now can move to the ordinance 21-8 to amend the zoning map from RE20 residential estates to R3, okay, which is multifamily residential at approximately 5445 south, 4300 west. And Councilmember Wilson, this would be a point based on the comment that Steve said would be if you wanted to make some amendment, this is where we need that in that motion.
There,
So any other comments before we actually go for request for a motion?
one in Kaysville's like.
Okay, with that then, do I have a motion then to approve ordinance 21-8 with condition?
I'll move to a motion for ordinance 21-8 to amend the zoning map with the conditions as noted by the Planning Commission.
I second it.
Okay, so we have Diane give us a motion to approve and gave us a second. This is a roll call vote. This is
Question?
with the, I'm sorry.
No?
Well, I'm right in the middle of,
I know you are, but I'd hate to have us vote. And what, can I ask what the conditions would be, just so that
They're up there.
they're on the record?
okay. This would be the bottom one. Is this what the Planning Commission, what Councilmember Wilson stated was to motion to approve using then the Planning Commission recommendation, which I believe is the ordinance, the lower portion of those paragraphs. So-
The west is single family and the east is multifamily.
Right.
The
That's what
townhomes.
she's asking. Mhm.
Right.
That's what she stated. Correct, Councilmember Wilson?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Does that answer your question, Brian? Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to restart again. That's okay. Do I have a motion then to approve ordinance 21-8 with an amendment? And Diane, if you go ahead and repeat that one more time.
I move to pass ordinance 21-8 to amend the zoning map, including the conditions as mentioned by the Planning Commission. Do you want me to, and I'll say that, to have single-family homes on the west and multifamily residential allowed, but not mandated on the east.
Okay, I think that's fair. And I do have
second
a
it.
second, and give us a second on that. This is a roll call vote, so go ahead, Morgan.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Nay.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate those. We got approval on those two ordinances. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Steve. A good discussion. There is one discussion item, and I do believe, Matt, you're going to lead us in the discussion item dealing with red curb parking
Yeah,
at parks.
I
Thank
can
you.
start us out with this with a little bit of history. Currently, there's a couple of places within the city limits, primarily around the parks, Emma Russell and Roy West Park, that are heavy recreated, and they have red curb along the parking on the streets. As part of that, we issue permits from the Public Works Department that the east side of the west side of the road at West Park can be parking by permit, and the cul-de-sac can be parking by permit at Emma Russell. There's many pros and many cons. Some of the advantages to having the red curbing is a safety issue. Primarily over at Roy West, if you have parking on both sides during the congested times of the day where there's a heavy amount of recreating going on, there could be children and stuff running through there. That street is, as you guys know, is not is a connector street, and there's a lot of houses that people drive down that street. So anyway, this is really primarily on the agenda just for the discussion. It comes up every couple of years. Do we stay the same with the permits on the one side and the red on the other? Do we allow parking on the one side? And then also down at Emma Russell. And so staff would like just some direction. We paint that curb every year, and we would need to repaint that curb this year as well. So anyway, I just want to open up that discussion to you guys.
Okay, thoughts, council?
Yes, I have a lot to say about this because I have my grandson that plays down at Roy West Park, and I've had many citizens come up and say, why do we have to have paint on both sides? I mean, there's just so many activities at Roy West Park, and there's just not enough parking, especially when there's ball games going on and soccer games. And I propose they take the red paint off of the side of the residents' houses. I know that was done I've been told, when a former member of the council that lived there, had that done. And I know that people probably don't like people parking in front of their house, but they chose to buy a house next to a park. And it's like, you know, living next to a gravel pit and then complaining you have dust in your house. I mean, they chose to live there, and there's just not adequate parking at Roy West Park. And I just think that I would never want the side where the park is, there's lots of fire hydrants there, and I think that would be safe to keep that painted, you know, red. But I just feel that the other side should just not be painted anymore. That's just my opinion. I'm tired of people complaining to me about it.
I have a question about, that we were working on the park and adding some parking, is that correct? Or is that, so we don't even know what the impact of that would be at currently, is that correct?
I can't give you the exact number of stalls, no.
But, so, I guess my question is, do we have those all filled on a ball game day? Are all of our current parking stalls available filled on a ball game day?
I'm sorry, say that question one more time.
So Travis, the current parking lots that we have, when we have a ball game day or multiple ball games, whatever we call it, are all of the parking stalls filled?
You know, there comes a time when, say, you have a game that starts at 5 o'clock and another one that starts at 6:30. There's a window there where you really have double the amount of teams because the games that are going on and then the people that get there early to warm up and do the things they're going to do. When we get to those windows, it's obviously much more challenging for parking in the main parking lot. If you go to Old West, if we're talking specifically about West Park, Old West, the area across the street from the skate park, typically there's some. I can't speak on every time. I know there are times when most of the parking lot is full, but
Right.
on most game nights you can typically find parking if you'll go to the Old West or the parking lot.
I guess my really core question is, are we talking convenience versus safety?
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to address to kind of go along with this. You're coming out of a roundabout right there onto a street, and the people on the opposite side of the roundabout are already concerned that people park on the road. There's a gentleman there with a truck and a trailer. As people come through that roundabout and turn onto that street, that because there's parking there, it creates a hazard. So if we did open it back up, I think we'd still have to leave so much of the curb striped. The other concern I have is, and I 100% agree that we need more parking there. The other concern I have is if we've packed the house and we've got cars lined up and down both sides of the street, now you got kids running across the street, you can't see them coming in between cars, where when the cars aren't there, you can see people walking across the street.
Right, I don't think both sides should be opened up.
yeah,
Just the side of the residents, and then I think it should be red till it's safe. I mean, as soon as you get past Roy West Park on any given night, when there's lots of games, there are cars parked on both sides that way. But, and it's not like my grandson had a game last night and the park wasn't completely filled. So only on certain nights when there's all of the soccer teams playing, so there wouldn't be cars parked there on every evening. Only on certain nights when they have all the soccer fields full. And plus, then those residents could actually allow their family and friends to park in front of their house also.
I'm still just really concerned about safety more than convenience of how far do I have to walk, how
Right.
full is the parking lot, how
Well, I
hard
think
is
before
it?
they had that red there, I don't know of any accident that was there when the cars used to line it. But I mean,
we're getting more
I
and more
see what
activity.
you're seeing too, and I know that more parking where they took down the tennis courts and the volleyball, you know, would actually help. I just
What-
want to address it because I've had so many people complain to me about it.
What
so.
other options do we have? Because I know parking is an issue, and I'm trying to balance safety versus convenience.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, I don't know that I would say there's other options, you know, from the perspective of the parking we have there now. working on a plan to redesign Old West a little bit that might add a little bit more parking beyond this, but that's gonna be budgetarily and different things like that. I don't know if there is another plan. I mean, the parking you have is the parking you have.
Yeah, one of the things that I think plays an important role in this is that Shirley West Park is a popular park. It's a mature park. And you're also, with Roy Days coming up, I think we're going to utilize that park pretty heavily again this time. And so parking's really been an issue. I mean, there used to be a vacant property not too far from the northeast of there, or northwest of there. And it was easy for people just to drive over the curb and get on that property. And we'd compensate, I think, the landowner for a while. But there's new homes going in there. And what those new homes meaning is the limits our parking opportunities. And so I think there's a choice here, Council. The issue is, how do we make it convenient? How do we make it safe? And how do we make that park to be the best it can be? And interesting enough, it's perfect if you happen to live within walking distance of that park. But if you're going to bring people in, and Travis will testify, he brings people in from everywhere, from West Haven, from Hooper. He gets a lot of people that take advantage of that great park. It does have a problem, and the problem is parking. And when I've gone to activities, I'm parking in the North 40. I'm way up there about 3 or 4 blocks, and I'm walking, at least a few minutes to get to the park, which is okay, but it is inconvenient by every definition. And so the hard question's got to be is that if you're going to say we need to kind of look at this both based on safety and convenience, then maybe the question has to be asked is, are we willing to donate a little more property to parking so that we can compensate? Much like Emma Russell, much like we've got available to the George Wallen Park, we got lots of parking available at those parks, and they're great assets when we provide that medium. But this is a tough one, and we got to make some tough choices. Council?
I have one more comment. We happen to have 2 excellent public safety officials in our midst, and I'd like to hear both of their opinions on it, trying to get a fire truck down there and try to do traffic control on the street.
We were actually just talking, we were having a sidebar while you guys were having yours.
I figured that. That's why I asked.
So, I'm not gonna win any points here. I guess one of the things that we can control is how much usage the park gets, right? If it's being overused, then we need to address that. But the parking issue in and of itself, we respond to calls where kids are getting hit in parking lots. They're getting hit in their own driveways, right? So we can make that argument anytime you have kids around cars. If you want to keep the red, me personally, I would maybe keep it on one side. I would not do both sides, because then you have the narrow issue, getting vehicles in and out of there. And, if we have to respond to the park in an emergency, it's going to make it difficult for us to get in and out. I'm actually more concerned about that than an actual kid getting hit by. In my time, I have not responded to any kids being hit by cars on 43, crossing the road, between, coming to and from games. Typically, their parents are there with them. And whatnot. I understand it's a concern. It's not anything that I'm seeing that's of overwhelming concern.
Chief Golden, if cars are parked along one side, do we have adequate access?
We'd still have the access, yeah. It's not as tight. You put them on both sides and it would be.
Right.
Well, I think this goes to the attention of probably an important element, and we've addressed this with other city managers, but there really is not a really comprehensive ordinance or policy that governs how we red mark curbs. I will indicate to you, police chief, just in an effort just try to settle the bickering and all the noise, made a decision literally, and I think Ross, you may have been part of that because you guys got hammered. A little resident right there off 2700, a little south of 56, and the resident says, I know how to solve this. We're just going to paint the curb red. And they did. And that resident was absolutely tickled. Now, the other residents around there says, you just took away my parking. So my family come to visit and all that sort of stuff, you just took that away. But the person that had the complaint was, in fact, tickled that the city painted that curb red. But they did that just simply trying to fix a problem that I questioned whether it needed to be fixed. But that's what they did. And hence, we have no policy on this. The laws are clear. So much between a stop sign. maybe so much going into some type of roundabout. Those are clear. We have them definitely when we're talking about the fire extinguishers the hydrants. But the point is, there's really no policy that we govern in terms of how to manage these when these issues come up. And I think what Matt is suggesting is, if we honestly believe there may be an opportunity here, then I'd like to suggest to us, let us talk about a policy that takes and consider all of this. And then if the decision is the council that simply says we ought to do this, then it's going to be based on policy, so it's consistent through the city. And we're not reacting to just an individual property owner that simply says, I'm tired of it, I'm upset with it, and therefore we just simply, to cool the flames of that individual, we make the change. I do not know if, and I apologize, I know there were red on the east side,
Both sides.
but it's on both sides. Where do the people basically park that come visit those people who happen to be on the west side?
Yeah.
Because unless they're pulling in the
It's by
driveway.
permit.
By permit.
Okay,
they-
so now we
I
have
was
a-
going to say it makes the most sense to open up the park side, because then you're parking next to the park, you get out of your car, you're already on the park side.
And safer.
Yeah.
Well, but there's more fire hydrants, and then people pulling out of the park can't see as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That and the fact if we permit on the west side
Yeah.
residents there, how many cars can they have in front? So now all of a sudden you've created that tunnel. So it's
I have a question.
I don't know where the policy is on that, to be honest with you, because I've read all of the city policies, and I've yet to read one that says we provide permits to residents of how they can control parking on the front of their house. I've not seen it, but go ahead, Diane.
Go ahead, and then I'll ask my
I
question.
was just going to interject. I think this is kind of related to the traffic issue that we're trying to solve right now, right? So residents believe that there is a speeding problem on the road. And as we've seen through the studies we've been doing, that typically is not really a problem. It's just the perception.
Right.
And 85% of drivers are going to drive appropriate for the conditions that exist at the time. So, I mean, let's make the argument that you do allow parking on both sides of the road. The data would suggest that 85% of drivers are going to drive through that narrow lane appropriate for those conditions. So as we move forward, just be thinking about that. 85% of people that we're dealing with are going to be dealing with that road appropriately, regardless of what you do.
Okay.
They're not going to plan for a fire truck.
Right. I don't think we should ever have both sides opened up. I think we should keep one side red.
There was a stretch where both sides were available to be opened up, and it was a nightmare when people were parking
Right.
on both sides. It was almost one way, depending on wait your turn.
Right. There's so many fire hydrants on the park side that it would limit spaces anyway. I just feel you bought a house next to a park, probably gonna, just like the people that live across the street from Roy High, kids park there every day in front of their houses till school's out. They bought a house by a park, so that's just, we don't put red, so kids can't park in front of their house. And they're on both sides. I just think,
I like opening it up on the park side.
and and like last night, there wouldn't have been anybody parked on that road because the parking lot wasn't even full. It's just on certain evenings that it's just, you have to walk, neighborhoods away to even get to your kid's event.
Well,
And so,
one thing is, if it's opened up, it doesn't mean people will go to the parking lot first. They'll go to what's closest. But the question I'm really wondering, is there a way that we can find out how many parking spots would be available on the park side versus the residential side? Because that would give us some actual information of which is going to improve it.
What I would recommend, just because I couldn't say how many cars you could put there, but I can tell you how big it is. I can tell you how many feet each side represents, not blocking driveways.
Sure.
things along
Right.
those lines.
And then you can go with an average car length, and realizing people aren't going to park exactly that way, but that would be helpful. And then as we talk about, park side versus residence side, then, and maybe the safety issue isn't it, but, it seems like if you're coming from the park to a car right by the park, it seems to be safer, but maybe that doesn't matter, I don't know. But if you have a lot fewer parking spots, could, like Ann's saying, maybe we get 3 parking spots on that side because of the hydrants versus, 25, then that would make a difference. So if we could have some data, that would be, I think, very helpful. And then if we did take one off versus the other, what about, say for example, we left red on the resident side and we opened up the park side. So that means, I guess, that the permits would then be not there for the
They'd have to
residents?
be
They'd be
null and
gone, right?
void.
Because that would, you
Because
wouldn't want
otherwise
to
we'd
have
have
double,
the fire
right?
truck problem.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Cars in front of out front of their houses, striped just the west side. I mean, I think that makes the most sense, but that might be a bigger battle too, so.
You know, and then what if we took the stripe away on the park side, you know, and then a year or two down the road, we're like, ugh, that was stupid. And then said, okay, we better paint it back red. I mean, can't you just change it?
Have a bigger fight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they changed
so-
it to put it. I mean, every city council has the prerogative to make changes.
Right,
You're gonna have a bigger fight.
yeah.
Well, how
So, I
about
don't
this?
know. We just can, I just,
How about
hey,
if-
Ross?
No.
Anne's wanting it.
She's
So
practiced.
Travis, can I ask a question?
I would say you build a house, you bought a house by a park.
Just
What
a
are you hearing
question.
from your Roy Rec people? I mean, your people that come to, are you hearing a lot of complaints
We don't.
about parking?
I'm not gonna tell you we don't get complaints about it. We don't get a massive amount of them, but there have been complaints. You know, Ann's right, the bigger events, you know, certain Saturdays when we have multiple soccer games and a lacrosse game
Right.
and
But that happens to me when I go to the county fair too. When it's a big event, parking is going to be a problem.
Right.
That's just the reality of it, no matter how much parking you add on a big event. On Roy Days, we're gonna have parking problems. We know that. But even adding parking is probably not going to create that solution.
For our big events, you're 100% right. We don't have enough parking. It would be impossible. We couldn't give away enough green space to adequately park for some of our ASA softball tournaments, for Roy Days, for example, for some of those things. People are going to have to walk further on events like that. There's no doubt about it.
Parking structure.
Yeah, that's expensive.
It's okay to look at a policy for
That was
highway curb and
Council
uncurb.
Member Wilson.
But I will be glad to get some of the data you guys have.
That would be great.
requested.
I think that would be
Thank
helpful.
you.
Right.
Brian, you had a comment you're going to make.
Well, just a question, comment. It seems like we'd get more parking if we removed the striping on the park side, because you wouldn't have the driveway interference that you might have on the other side of the street. Now, am I wrong, right?
No, that's correct.
But you can't do the permit.
Lots of fire hydrants along there.
Have to be accounted for. A lot of the fire
Well-
hydrants are on the park side.
Right.
Yeah, but I
you
think,
can't remove
Move them, right?
yeah, but let me,
remove
No,
the
but you
curbing
stripe fire-
and continue to
yeah.
give permits. You can't do that, or you will
Yeah.
create that.
but here's, let's make sure we don't lose sight of intent. I think Matt's original comment was, we need to look at this for all parks. Because if you kind of think about this, is it's not just West Park. That may be the one that's in the spotlight today. But you can have the same argument in M. Russell.
Right.
You can still have the same argument up there. So I think if what we're saying is if we can intuitively come up with a strategy that where we can do the assessment, surely take the advice of the experts who deal with parking issues and access issues, bring all that together, then maybe an action from this conversation will be is we'll formulate what appears to be a policy and present it back to the council and say, is this something we can work with that's going to allow us to fit with all our parks?
I like that idea.
I think we let our city people look at that
Okay.
rather than us keep trying to
Everybody
to
okay with
solve the
that?
problem.
Then we'll take an action, on that, and we'll come back to the council in the next few meetings, and we'll come up with a strategy that allows us to assess more effectively. And I agree. If the answer is, let's look at the numbers, and is it better to go this way or that way? Let's give you some facts, some information, as well as make sure we include the safety risks. I mean, that really, really is important to us.
What kind of time frame are we looking at realistically? Because unfortunately, we are in the heat of the moment. No pun intended there, heat of the moment, but we
know.
are in the middle of sporting seasons and
I know.
and things coming up. I mean, I
Got
don't
a
want
big Roy
to
Days
throw the
coming
coal
at us.
to you, but
I don't think we make it, make it based on a one-year thing. I think we look at a long-term,
Yeah.
whether we have to walk through what we've been walking through right now for 1 year, even though it is sporting season, even though it is Roy Days season, it would be bad to make a quick decision rather than a good decision.
That's right. Yeah, great comment.
And do we have any idea what the ideal parking number would be, parking space number would be? As you're thinking about it, like we have these formulas that Steve uses for, so many parking spots for this.
I know there is something I can look at that bases on a sporting event. how many
Particular
parking, and I'll find that for you.
Number of
Okay.
players.
Yeah.
And
stuff.
Steve was going to make a comment, and sorry.
I've been to several soccer tournaments in my life, and there's never been a facility that has been able to adequately done parking.
That's
You know,
what I
if it's
think.
4 fields or 20 fields, parking is always a problem. And it's just always, you can't, it's just like driving to Salt Lake, you can't build our way out of this. People are just gonna have to walk. I mean, I've had to walk blocks to get to a field, so.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, we'll try to come up with something, council, and you guys can kind of work through it, and we'll try to do that as quickly as we can, but recognize, and I think your comment was right. Let's don't push this. Let's do it right the first time.
hey, I'm going to throw out one thing just as you're looking at it. I just had an epiphany, probably a aneurysm. But what about putting some senior citizen parking? We have handicap, but what if we throw some senior citizen parking up towards the front so our experienced population doesn't have to walk as far?
I morally don't have a problem with it.
It was just food for thought.
You can think about it.
If you want in the parking lot, if you want.
But then we also
senior
have
citizens,
pregnant
you want
mothers,
expecting
and we have,
mothers, you want- I mean, we'll do whatever you guys would like
Yeah.
us to do.
we have kids with.
What's your gut feeling?
I think we get our fair share of senior citizens that come and support their.
Yeah, they all come watch their grandkids.
That's exactly right. They do.
That's me.
No problem with it. I actually kind of like the idea, to be honest.
They're experienced residents.
Yeah.
The experienced residence is a much better term.
I shouldn't be calling on Steve. Mayor, you can call on Steve.
We'll put it in the equation.
Steve's got his hand up.
I have to say, how would you enforce that?
Right. It
You
needs to be
wouldn't.
the
It's
honor
on your
system.
honor.
At the grocery store.
It's just like handicapped people that get
You
out.
read the
and they
Right Act
walk
to some
faster
young
than I
person
do,
that's
and
parked
have a
there.
handicap sticker.
Yeah.
Unless they're an
enforcement.
expecting mother, and then you say,
Hard issue
bless
there.
you.
I know. I think.
Okay, Matt, we got some
Moving
tasks
on.
out of this. Let's see if we can't put something together and get it back to the
Experience and
council.
go
We
into the
appreciate that.
ballpark.
Okay. We have now the city manager and council report. Matt, you have some things you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, you got a couple of things.
grandson's
You guys may have
game
seen some news out of Clinton City. Connects Broadband, they agreed to a franchise agreement. I just wanted to make it known, we've been in conversations with them as well. They actually have on their website at connectsbroadband.com, they have an area where you can go sign up for fiber network through their system, but they need a certain take rate in order to build there. They are fully funded fiber network. There is fiber in the city provided by them, just right down the street here. I know Chief Gwen, when he was on the Far West City Council, they actually have connects out in Far West. So there's just a certain amount of cities, but it really is up to the residents. It was said, if you build it, they will come. They started building it and they don't have the take rate necessary to fund it. And so they're going to want the take rate before they start building. Their take rate is how many people would sign up for it, but they would like about 50%.
Are they getting it in Clinton, or are we too early for
Same
that?
as here. Same deal as here. they have to have a take rate about 50%.
No, sorry, I should back up. Is Clinton getting the take rate that they're looking for? Or are we too early to see?
They just entered that market, so
Okay.
yeah. So it's really first come, first served. They're a company that is being fully funded though, so just wanted to throw that out there, especially their website, that Roy residents can go on there and put their name on the list. Also wanted to note with our recent conversation with water conservation, some of the parks we've implemented that we're not watering during those times that we've talked about, and also the recreational fields, they get a little bit more water, but we're only watering 2 days a week at the other fields that are non-recreational oriented. But wanted to bring this up as well because we've received other comments within the city about water features within the city. We do have a water fountain over in front of Harmon's and also in front of where you come off the freeway. These are recycled water. They're not like a fountain. They're recycled, so you do
It's not
lose some
dumping into the storm drain.
Yeah, they do lose some to evaporation, but another feature that we have, as well as a lot of other cities, is we have the splash pad over at George Wallen Park. If we wanted to, that is open right now from 9 to 8 o'clock. If we wanted to try to conserve water over there, we could limit that. A lot of the cities around us are limiting it. Let's say 12 to 7, it would conserve some of that water. Just wanted to get some of your thoughts on that to see if it's a direction that we wanted to go as well.
How much water does the splash pad use, and does it just go to the storm drain? And what are some of the details there?
The majority of splash pads are not recycled water. And the reason why is because if it's recycled, you have to have an individual on staff there at all times to monitor the water. And so it is just a hose and it is going down the drain. So it's just a fresh water system. So I would also say that the majority of them out there are that way and they're also 5 times the amount of money when they're recycled, so.
I've been
And
there
as for-
3 times this week.
Oh.
And it certainly is highly used.
That is very correct, especially with
We
the
might
heat
be
that we've
saving
been
heat
experiencing.
exposure for some kids having it running.
Right.
I don't know how much it costs us. I don't know what kind of waste we're creating, but it is certainly a highly used facility by
Very
our
correct.
citizens.
Especially when it's 100 degrees. I think 9 o'clock's way too early. I would at least 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
You know,
we
like
can-
11 to 8.
I wanted to
11
bring it up
7.
because there was a news article on it. Other cities are implementing this, and I thought it was important.
But I
that
think
we-
if you look, and that's part of the conversation that we're going to end up having is that I don't think this drought is going to go away anytime soon. And as you well know, pressure's on. And the question we have to ask would be is that what latitude do we think we need as a city to help basically do our part in terms of water conservation? Now, I think it's a great tool that we have in the splash pad. But I think the comment really be is that maybe by limiting the time, we can do our part, still allow then access as much as we can, but by the same token, shut those times down a little bit if we force into some type of a setting where we have to start doing, in essence, more water conservation.
I'd
So-
probably say 10:30 or 11 on the.
11. And then maybe if the drought gets even worse, maybe we could just have it like Monday, Wednesday, Friday or something like that.
And that might be the strategy, but I will tell you, and Travis and Matt will say, is that we're taking our parks and working water conservation seriously now.
Right.
So you're going to see some brown, and recognize that we'll be around and people are going to complain. Travis made a comment in a meeting with us not too long ago. He said, we've got to keep our fields that are playing watered because there's a safety issue here.
Liability.
Yeah.
And he recognized that, and I agree his team recognized the importance of that. But he also saying now, he says, there are places where we don't need to do that. Are you willing to go ahead and remind residents when they complain that our grounds are going to be a little browner because we're doing everything we can to conserve water, just like we're asking everybody else to do? So if you're okay with that, I believe, and I'm going to work with Matt, we're going to draft you an ordinance that's going to talk about addressing, from an ordinance perspective, culinary water. We have to do that because at some point in time, we need something that's going to give us some teeth to be able to bring this attention. I just think we got to have that. But if part of that plan would be is we can take some of preventive actions on ourselves, and you approve an ordinance to do that, that we're looking at these things. Maybe we cut a couple hours in the morning off on that splash pad so we can get a little harder in the day when they can use it. We might be able to do some things that simply says we are doing our part. But some point in time, I'm fearful the governor is going to come and Chief, he's already basically said no fireworks outside of municipalities. If he takes an order and writes an executive order that says no fireworks anywhere in Roy City, he's not doing it because he doesn't like 4th of July. He's doing it because we got a problem and we have got to face this problem. And if these things happen, if he puts a mandate that basically says we're going to conserve water whether you like it or not, then we got to step up. The most important thing is to be able to plan for it, look at it, figure out how we can do our part, and hopefully we're going to be in a much better position. So Matt and I are going to work that for you to consider, but the important thing would be is I just don't see this getting any better.
Is
Not
there
for
a
a while.
way that we can state why? I mean, whether it's through signage or whether it's through publications or whatever. I think that would take the pressure off a lot of complaints if we say, because of the severe drought conditions, our splash pad is shortening our hours from this to this.
Oh, I think that would be critical. I think
Yeah.
we would have.
Throw a Roy Connection article on the sign.
Multiple signs actually at the facility. I think we'd have to use, the city webpage, all forms of social media. I wanna be full disclosure, and the last thing I wanna see is a kid show up at 10 o'clock in the morning and be sad and have to wait till 11 or noon or whatever this body decides. So yeah, I think we would have to state, this is what we're doing, these are the new hours of operation, and this is why. You know, I think that would be critical to do.
And could you get us an idea of how many gallons per minute or hour goes through that? Because that might help us make a decision on
Yep,
how
I'll get you that number.
we need to do that for the hours.
What was that, Ross?
It depends on how many times they push the button. It does.
You're absolutely correct. Okay, a great conversation. Anything else you want to share with us, Matt?
Yes, a couple more things. As you guys know, we've had park benches that, a program where you buy a park bench with your name on it. Just wanted to bring that up. Really, the delay has been with the cement, not being able to get there or lack thereof of cement. They started out a project this week down at Emma Russell, and they were trying to piggyback these projects. They're pouring cement, and they can go do some park benches. So they're going to be doing some park benches. Trav's in charge of this, and he says that they should be done by the end of the year. It's just slow because of the cement. That's the big holdup.
If you wanna see what they look like, Municipal Park, I got that one in, or Travis got that one in before the cement went south, so,
Is that the one you purchased?
yeah.
Oh, perfect. You got a sign on it or some
Yeah.
stamp? Oh, I got to get over there and see that.
People- That's probably why I get so many emails. Well, you got your name on a bench, but I don't see you down here mowing the lawn.
I'm going to stop by there and take a peek at that. That's great.
Travis might be hiring part-time lawnmowers.
Yeah, we have an 89% turnover rate.
Getting out of work, not going in.
I also wanted to go over some Roy Days events. I didn't want to steal any thunder from Councilmember Jackson, though, so if you want to tag team this or whatever. But wanted to go over some of the major changes from the committee assignments. This is, Roy Days is going to be here before we know it, actually. So one of the big changes is the salmon bake is going to take place on Thursday, August 5th, instead of the Friday of Roy Days. And we're going to kind of share the wealth throughout the community. We're going to be doing the salmon bake at Emma Russell Park, and it will start at 4:30 and end at 7 o'clock. We're
Yeah, I
doing
don't
this
have as
for.
far to drive.
Yeah, you could probably just
walk
walk
there.
down
Or
there.
bike over there, yeah.
Plus, they need to know how many council members are going and how many tickets you need. You'll need to let Travis and Jody know that also.
Okay.
And
And it will also provide better parking for residents down there for the salmon bake. So we have a little bit more parking as well.
We have a great big pavilion down there too.
They
That'll
have a
be-
big pavilion that we won't have to put one up. Yep.
But it doesn't say experienced.
And they're having the movie there that night too.
That is correct. The next event for Roy Days will be at Emma Russell Park as well. We Are Marshall will be being played on the big screen down there at 9:30. So
I
we
like it.
traditionally do that at,
2-hour window there, right?
yep, there will be a little bit of time between them, but we just have to wait for it to get dark. So that will also take place at Emma Russell.
Perfect.
The parade will take place at the same location, ending at George Wallen Park. Same time, 9 o'clock. And then the events and booths will start on Friday, August 6th at Roy West Park from 5 to 8 p.m. And then Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Another major change that we're still working right now is that we're planning on shooting off the fireworks at Eagle Lake Golf Course, and we're gonna be shooting bigger shells, so you can see it throughout more of the city. There won't be the drop zone at the Roy West, so we could help facilitate more people at Roy West, and you could also go to different locations.
Bigger fire hazards, I'm in. Let's do it.
Less
Get ready,
people where
chief.
where the shells are. The only people in the drop zone will be firefighters, so.
Plus, if you want to be in the parade, you need to let them know if you want to drive a car or have a,
Is the council automatically?
yeah, the council will, she said to let them know, let us know.
We've got spots saved for the council.
Yeah.
Okay, just notify you. Okay, thanks. Anything else, Matt?
And then also, we did talk about this in the budget session, but I wanted to personally thank Camille. I've been in the position before, it's really hard. So, thank you. I can't say how much I appreciate her.
Well, I know Matt's told me before that Camille's the #1 important employee in all of Roy City.
No.
And it, the city could not run without Camille. She keeps everything in line.
The bean counters and the
Yeah.
attorneys keep us in line.
Hey, Brian, you just went up a notch.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Anything
About
else?
time I moved.
Anything else you want to share with us, Matt?
Nope.
Okay, great comments. Okay, council, you have anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Chief Golden. He approached me a month or two ago about a flag retirement ceremony. He had a fair amount of flags that needed to be retired. He knew I was involved in the scout troop here in Roy, and we started working the details, and then the Elks Lodge got involved, and we pulled off a really good ceremony on Monday night. It worked out for us as a scout troop. That's our normal night. And so we had a great turnout from the scouts. We had a great turnout from the Elks. I apologize that it wasn't made public because we were trying to keep it a smaller ceremony. I had some residents, because I posted about it, say, we didn't know about it. And it was kind of intentionally done that way, not against the council or anything. I think an email went out. Maybe we should have got it out sooner. I apologize for that. But it really taught the youth about the flag and where the flag comes from, and the way to give proper salute to the flag, pay respects, and then how to retire it. And it was good to hear the history of all that from the Elks, and to see the different flags and the help from the fire department. So it's a really great ceremony. So thanks, Chief Golden, for putting that together. It was a good event. And then I just had one other thing as a stewardship report. You can see that there is construction going on 5600 and 2700 West. What the situation there is there's a 90-degree turn in the sewer pipe that goes right there. Well, 90-degree turns doesn't work well for flow of anything.
Yeah.
And so they're taking out the 90-degree and putting in 245-degree manholes to allow for better flow. They're anticipating, Whitaker's anticipating that it's only going to be a 30-day project. They're trying to minimize downtime during the day in that, but it is something that they need to do to finish that. And they are going to get back up and finish the rest of the paving that needs to be done from the original project.
Is
So
5600 closed during that, or just 2700?
Do you know, Ross? I come through there about 11 o'clock the other night, and it was open.
They closed it last night for a little while. They're gonna be,
I think it's going to be hit and miss. I don't think we can say for sure.
starting Wednesday, they hold 3 nights.
And that's 2,700 only.
27 right there.
Or and 56. Okay.
Yeah.
That whole intersection, because they're going, the pipe comes and makes the turn right there on the 2,700, so it's right in the middle of the intersection. Yeah, they're big.
Yep. Okay, Brian, you had something you want to say?
Yep, a couple of things. Mosquitoes.
No, we don't
The
want them.
complaints, it doesn't matter how you zone the city, they show up. Mosquito complaints across Weber County are down, but they warn that with this heat, it takes a 3-day period for them to hatch from larvae. So, they're trying to stay on top of them. That's what I learned yesterday.
It dries better.
And then I just wanted to point out that construction has begun on the new Fast Signs building that is being built on Main Street, 1900 West, 5758 South, and we're excited to have them. They were formerly in Riverdale, but
So
they
where
saw
exactly
the
is that
light.
location at then?
That is
57 and
between Zions
Oh.
and Advanced Auto Parts.
Oh, okay.
And they are going to
East
have
side of the
them.
road.
Okay.
Yeah, on the east
On that
side.
vacant property that was right there.
Yep.
Okay,
And if you go by there now, it's all
up.
dug up.
good.
Yep,
So anyway, that's it.
good comments.
I got one more thing to go back to. Street maintenance throughout the city will start on Thursday, different locations. So they'll be doing some chip sealing and different stuff. If we can get maps of the area and get it posted. Okay.
Yeah, if it's if it's something, Ross, you can get to Morgan so we can get that posted on the website, we'd appreciate that. Okay, perfect. Diane, anything you want to share with us? Jan? Okay, I just got a couple of things. You've probably been seeing some of the conversation about an old car out by the cemetery. Matt and Travis, I believe, have the answer. So we've got a solution, and we're working that solution, but we now know who owns that car, which has been there for 20, 30, 40 years.
Maybe we just need to bury it.
Just leave it.
It is at a cemetery.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
we don't have
right.
a lot
We're out
that
of
big.
land. Never mind.
Watch, Chief, it might be a good idea, and you're already on top of this if you don't mind, but a good reminder to the residents to remind them where the 4th of July fireworks restrictions are in Roy. Particularly, that corridor that we've designated. If you two can just help us make sure we get that message out to the residents to not play with fireworks around that train rail system through there, that would be very helpful. And last but not least, the Community Care Car Wash. Obviously, we've had a community care organization in Roy for a long time. They've got a car wash on Saturday, this Saturday from 1 to 4. If you'd like to join us, it's just out there in West Haven on Wilson Lane. So if you kind of drive east on Wilson Lane off 1900 and go,
The Darren Beddoe RV, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, it's right off the freeway there on Wilson Lane.
yeah, it's right in that general area, maybe a little bit further east there, but go there and if you like, help us with the community care operation.
Same place. They sponsor a lot of car washes for the school sporting groups.
Yeah,
So
it's great.
they do a good
great
job.
organization. 1 to 4 on Saturday. Anything else, council, before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion to
Second.
adjourn. And who gave me a second? Jan, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned, and we do have a RDA board meeting in just a couple of seconds. So go ahead and get your breath, and then we'll jump right into
What
RDA
street's
board
first?
meeting.
I'm already public number one in my neighborhood. Now you're gonna make me worse.
So I got.
The chip seal on the road to Emerald.
Just, and then Nick, it's